All right, you made it back. Part two. Thanks for stopping back here. Part two. We're actually going to finish up our second video here, part two. We're doing painting in a series painting, so that we can create a beautiful effect of, let's say, putting multiple paintings on a wall. We see this a lot in restaurants, in bars, in museums, of course, galleries. So we're just taking this idea and we're doing a quick demonstration of it, how we create a series of paintings, and we'll get right back into it here. So what I did was, while we were away, I finished up this third painting here, and of course we sectioned this all off with tape. And so on this third painting, I put in the colors: burnt sienna, burnt umber, raw umber, a little bit of blue, cerulean blue and cobalt blue mixed in there, a little bit of French ultramarine blue, and a little bit of mineral violet. So I mixed up and got some nice mixtures of darker colors and made this nice boathouse here on the right, and then a dock. So the boathouse sits upon the top of the dock, and then we have the pilings underneath. I went in and I did some more pilings again with the same colors: burnt sienna, burnt umber, with some blue, French ultramarine, give it some nice variations in color and texture. And we stuck with the same game plan that we did for the first two with the sky, with the blues, our three blues: cerulean, cobalt, French ultramarine. And then we did a touch of sap green and raw umber for the ground, the foreground here. So, and then a distant mountain. We did a little bit of distant mountain color with the purple, mineral violet. And that's pretty much where we're at this point. Now here we're going to keep continuing on working, and we'll just do our masts on the sailboats. A little bit of shadowing maybe. Try to capture a little more realism here. We'll get some maybe yellow paint into the blue of the ocean color here, the bay, or the inlet here where the boats are, and then we'll just go from there. So let's get back to painting here. We're going to go back in. First thing we do is we spritz our palette. We want to make sure, once our palette starts looking like this, our mixing areas, we want to grab a paper towel with a little bit of water on it, and we'll just tidy up our palette so we have a nice clean working surface to work from, and our colors won't get too muddy. Sometimes we'll see paintings where the colors look very muddy, and we can't see the clear true colors of the paints that we have in our palette. So to avoid that, we always keep our palette clean, and we do this every 15-20 minutes. Take a break every 15-20 minutes, wipe down the palette, come back, and we have a fresh start again. And then let's go in here, and we'll think logically about this here. Let's work left to right so we can kind of use this. Everything is dry now. Again, this is real important. I know most of you that watch me all the time, I always try to let things dry once we do our first wash, and then we can rest our hand on here and get our sailboat masts much more effectively if we do it this way with our hand braced on the paper. So for the sailboat mast, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to go with some cerulean blue. We want to make sure we modulate our colors, as always. It would look quite boring if we just took one color, like burnt umber, and just made a single color with the mast. So here we're going to mix it up. We're going to use different colors so that we have an interesting look. So I used all my golds here. Again, cerulean blue, burnt umber, raw umber, and raw sienna, and a little bit of that would be, I gotta look in my paint things here, yellow ochre. It's late. It's starting to my memory's just a touch off here. It's late. Was Working all day. All right, so let's. Paper has to be dry though when we do this. Okay, and we just do this here. And then we try to, if we can, keep the distant masks a little bit thinner. But here again, I'm going for just the overall look here. So here, if you want to go with the masks in the distance on the sailboats, you'd use maybe a nice needlepoint brush to get them a little finer. But again, here we're not, like I said, I'm doing this really fast just so we can kind of get through it quickly and we can dry off our brush a little bit. Sometimes that makes things a lot easier if we just dry off a little bit of the paint. Again, we use some burnt umber and some cerulean blue. We'll do this one close up here. Could even go in and we can really get this painting a little more exciting, and sometimes just drop in a little bit of really cool, like a nice, put in a nice little bit of cadmium red. We'll do maybe a cadmium red stripe on the boat here. Again, I would do the same thing. I would break the lines a little bit. Maybe use a little bit of alizarin crimson and some yellow ochre to tone down that. Okay, we'll keep going here. So then we're going to go back into some burnt umber, raw umber. And again, we're just working a little bit quick. Do a little more burnt sienna. Again, here I'm practicing just modulating colors. I'll put a blue stripe on that boat, maybe over here too. And again, we're just doing the masks here. Of course, the ones in the distance are shorter, and then the ones closer up are going to be longer, and they'll go right out off the page because they're closer to us. So that would kind of just be the normal course of things when we're painting. As things go off in the distance, they become smaller, they become lighter in color, more cooler in color, and so we can just keep that in mind as we paint. Okay, and then let's do some, I'll take some lemon, cadmium lemon yellow, and we'll get some of that in the water. Okay, that would be more true to life. A little bit, we would see that in the water. But you don't necessarily have to paint it that way. It depends on your style, how you like to paint. And so I'm going to continue here, and I think we have this is a pretty good, this gives us the pretty good idea of what we were trying to accomplish here, which is creating a series of paintings, keeping them somewhat, well, actually very similar, all the same, we're using the same colors. So I'm going to go in and do a little more, just a little more to the ground, the distant shoreline here. I think that needs a little more interesting colors. And we'll put some mineral violet, some purple color. And we'll take some cobalt blue. We'll take some cobalt blue, mineral violet, cerulean blue, French ultramarine. Maybe some green too, some viridian green. Just mix it up a little bit, and maybe we'll just do some water lines. And then as we go into the distance, as we go into the distance here, we'll come back. We'll take a look here. So the closer up we are, we're going to see more nice darker colors. Shadow under there a little bit. And if you have an issue with a line or something where you go over a line, you can add on to your make the shack a little bigger and then make the roof a little bigger if you somehow the line doesn't go correctly. So you'll find with watercolor and art and painting, and you can always do some corrections as you're going. It's not a big deal. And then as we go off here in the distance, that becomes lighter. The choppiness of the water, some of the waves in the water become a little less, not as dark, because we're trailing off into the distance here. So we go a little lighter, and then maybe we could take a little white paint and paint these boats these smaller sailboats in the distance here with a little bit white paint, titanium white paint mixed with a little bit of yellow ochre, just a tiny bit to give it a little bit of a warmth color to it. But for the most part, this is pretty good. And then what we would do is, once it's completely dry, we would take the tape off. We carefully take the tape off. Use good watercolor good artist tape. It's a lot more forgiving on the paper. Sometimes if we don't use good artist tape, it'll tear the watercolor paper sometimes, and even tear off some of the painting that you did. So if you're working really hard to get a nice, beautiful painting, we don't want to disturb the painting. But this is how we're looking. And there we have it. We have 3 nice paintings.